Through the Leadership Lens is brought to you by Thompson Autogas. Thompson Autogas is the industry's gold standard turnkey solution for all your autogas needs. From funding to refueling and everything in between, Thompson Autogas is there to support your fleet every step of the way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Through the Leadership Lens, a podcast presented by the Women in Propane Council. I am Freddie Riddler.
And I'm Bridget Kidd, and today we are very excited to have Whitney O'Toole, Telemetry Manager from AmeriGas, joining us from North Carolina. Welcome, Whitney.
Thank you. I'm honored
We are
to
so
be here.
excited. Yeah, we're so excited that you're here. So as you know, we focus on leadership on our podcast. And so to kick things off for us, would you talk a little bit about kind of what does leadership mean to you?
So I'm a huge fan of servant leadership. I believe that a leader should serve their team members and really get to know them, what their goals are, what their future ambitions are, and play a key role in molding that and helping them achieve that goal. When your team is successful, your company's successful, you are successful.
That's great. I mean, I feel like anybody who has the perspective of servant leadership that you do probably had a really good mentor at some point that you're modeling that after. Was there anybody in your career that really you thought, oh, I want to follow that?
There's been quite a few, and it's not always good leadership. You know, there's you have bad leadership too, and I feel like every opportunity you have is a learning opportunity. So I had good and bad. We won't talk about the bad though. Good things, and a lot of my leadership style comes from outside the industry too. I love to read Brene Brown. She taught me vulnerability. I had a wonderful manager that had me do a class going over vulnerability. And that is something I think, especially an old school manager struggles with. I certainly did. I come from, I'm raised with three brothers. I was the only girl, and it was very much toughen up, buttercup. So being vulnerable with your team, I think, makes you so much more authentic and relatable to your team members, and that's what they want. And a leader is somebody that's not way up here on a pedestal looking down on them. They're right there in the mix with them. So Brene Brown, Simon Sinek, one of my favorite guys. He teaches how to lift people up, inspire them, get them to want to do the job that they're being asked to do. If you have a common goal and everyone's excited to achieve that, then you get there much faster. So Gary V, he's another one. Vaynerchuk, if you're checking on that. He likes to say you need to reverse engineer your team's needs. So find out what they need, what their goals are again, and then reverse engineer that to help them achieve that. So when you put yourself in a position of caring for your team, it opens them up to care about your goals too. And your goals are the company goals, right? So, I also have a current leader right now and manager that I aspire to be every day. George Saldana is one of the greatest that I have had. He is very much a servant leader, and he's just given me so much to learn from, and I appreciate him too. So those are just a couple.
Yeah,
Great.
that's great.
Yeah, and you're naming off some of the skills that, what it takes to be a good leader. And during our podcast that Bridget and I have been doing, it's always fun to hear the skills that you retain to be that leader and what you're looking for as a leader. Has those skills changed throughout the time? I know we always bring up COVID, but it's becoming like a 4-year-old discussion now. It used to be a lot closer in our time frame. But has anything ever changed between, when you first started seeing yourself as a leader till like today on this podcast?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I've been blessed to be in a leadership position for a good portion of my working career. And I started very young, and with youth comes mistakes, but you learn from them, right?
Mhm.
So I have changed my leadership style in the way that I try to go with the flow more. Everything is not a big deal. If you just go with the flow and kind of ride the wave, you'll always move past it. So I used to be, I'm Irish Italian, so I'm very passionate. I like to say other people might have a
Mhm.
different descriptor word of it, but I call it passion. And you get a lot of that, fight in you when you see something wrong. And that's not always the most efficient way to move past that issue or problem. So being able to just step back, relax, really think about it, and just go with what comes natural, I think has helped me become a better leader for my teams.
I would imagine, Whitney, like as you're talking about that development, like personal and professional development, um, there's probably some big challenges that got you there, right? And I mean, I think everybody has had those. And as you advance in your career and with age, like you're saying, your perspective changes so dramatically, right? Is there a time or a situation where you can look at and say, okay, that was the difference, right? I took the risk because it's a risk to
Mhm.
change, and it's a little bit of a risk to, which I struggle with, let the reins loose and not be totally in control. So, I mean, just because I think oftentimes we learn so much from other people when they can talk about an example. Is there something you'd be willing to share where maybe you would have handled it one way and you really consciously handled it another way?
Um, where I handled it one way, where I should have handled it a different way, or
Either one. I think
You're
it's
being
just
vulnerable right now.
I
right.
know you're making
Yeah.
me dig deep.
Well, I just think it's interesting because it's, when you do these development classes and you really invest the time, then you have to be intentional about implementing that. And so I'm
Yeah.
just curious if you have a time where you thought, okay, the old me would have probably flown off the handle and just done it myself. I mean, I'm assuming. I don't know who would behave like that, but I'm assuming. And then you thought, nope, the teams has to do it, or we're going to let it happen. And maybe somebody else has a different solution, something like that.
So, gosh, not one specific time I want to say, but
Hmm.
letting go of that control is very, very important and very, very difficult for somebody like myself to give up. Um,
Hmm.
However, I definitely learned that you surround yourself with capable people, and
Hmm.
that's why you hired them. You hired them because you knew they could do that job. You didn't hire them so you could do the job for them. You knew that they could do it, and they just need your support to get the job done.
Hmm.
So that's a big step that I took along the way in managing teams, letting go of that. There
Yeah.
wasn't one
Mhm.
specific instance where that happened,
Hmm.
but I will say that when I started in the industry, I just to take us back a little bit, I
Yeah.
left a leadership position in the food industry to start all over again in the propane industry at the and I did that because I saw the opportunity in the propane
Mhm.
industry, and I loved the people. In fact, one of my very best customers at the place I was managing is the one that stole me away. So
Mhm.
I loved his leadership style, and as I got to know him more, I wanted to work for him and learn and develop. So I go into the propane industry. I know nothing of propane, absolutely nothing. I'm in my 20s, I know everything else except propane. And I work my way up to a leadership position, and I start managing drivers and service techs, people that are experts on propane. And I wanted to know what it was like to be in their position and to have to do the job that they needed to do. And so I pushed myself outside into the great unknown, and I went out and got a Class B CDL with the hazmat and tanker endorsement. I drove the big propane truck.
Oh,
That's
And I went
awesome.
out and became a level 2 service tech. So I could both understand the delivery side of it as well as the service side of it. And that opened up a whole new perspective for me that I'm so glad I pushed myself to do, because then I really understood the issues and the frustrations that my team were having. And we were able to collaborate together because I had earned their respect by going out and, doing the job that they do, not just demanding it with a title. And we collaborate together. They have years and years of experience that I didn't have. And with that, there's trial and error. So I was able to say, okay, this is what I learned. And then you tell me your experience in this situation, and together we can meld it for a perfect resolution. And that just helped hugely in my leadership style and getting teams on
That's
board.
incredible.
yeah.
Right.
Way to put yourself in their shoes. That's a story in its own podcast. I have a question. So you're working for this company and you're going into this driver and service tech area, this field. What inspired you to make that decision? What did you say to yourself to say, you know what, I'm gonna not just work with these people, but I'm actually gonna step in their shoes and see what they do so I know how to react to it better. Like, do you remember, was it somebody that said to go do this? Was it just your own intuition saying, Whitney, go do this? How did that's incredible that you actually got your license and drove a truck and did service work. Like, wow, that's, you don't hear that much often, that's cool to hear that.
Yeah. So again, I was raised with 3 boys. I love building stuff. I love getting my hands dirty. And my husband's also was a truck driver at the time. And he had, his own experiences. We come home and we vent about issues, and I'm like, I'm very analytical. So when somebody tells me there's a problem, I have to dissect it 12,000 different ways. So I was like, I'm just ignorant on a lot of these issues and why you are seeing this as a problem, where me sitting behind a desk, clickety clack, is not seeing it. So I had great managers that encouraged me to do it. I had a great company that actually paid for me to do it, and I was able to get it done. You go and you have an idea and a desire, and with good leadership, it's encouraged, and it's helped along for you.
I gotta
So
say one more thing about this, and I'll kick it over to Bridget because I know she has more to say. So this didn't cause domestic, right? Where you get back and your husband's complaining about driving. You're like, I just did it. What are you complaining about?
What's the problem?
What's the problem?
I was delivering propane in snowstorms in North Carolina to schools to keep the heat on,
Yes.
because all my drivers were stuck in their driveways with ice, and I was not, and I lived really close to the office. So I was out there driving the propane to the schools, and I got home and I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
I'd be so proud of myself.
he's so supportive, and he was as tickled as I was.
Yeah.
that, this little girl was sitting behind a big old propane truck,
I love
Yes.
it.
pulling a big hose and hooking up
Yeah,
and pumping the
that's
gas.
awesome.
So
Well, I
Wow.
think it's reminding me, I think a lot of conflict, especially in leadership or management or, comes from a lack of an understanding of someone else's perspective,
Mhm.
right? I had a
absolutely.
professor in grad school who would always say, like, your perspective is right 100% of the time, but so is the other person's or the other people, right? And so when you look at like you going out and getting the certification and doing the work and understanding that perspective offers such a testament to that servant leadership. And I wonder, as you've moved beyond that role in your company and kind of in life, I mean, a lot of this applies outside of your job. um and you mentioned you do some professional development courses, but how are you doing self-evaluation to ensure that you're constantly honing those skills and saying, like, okay, certainly the perception or understanding from their perspective was something I needed to address. Is there like a 10-point check you do to say, oh gosh, is there's a growth opportunity, or maybe there's something else?
Feedback, conversation. Very good, very good, very close to me manager does evaluations with her team all the time, at least once a year, sometimes, twice a year. And she sends out a questionnaire to her team and she says, rate me in these categories and tell me, what you think, honestly. And
Mhm.
it's anonymous, you don't know, and it allows people to open up maybe a little bit more.
Mhm.
I've been told I'm pretty easy to talk to, so I usually get it out in conversations with my team. But it's asking the hard questions, asking, is there anything that I can do better for you?
Mhm.
What can I do to support you? And and where am I not giving you that support already? And being open and vulnerable to the truth, not getting defensive over it. It's not a personal stab at you. It is an
Mhm.
opportunity to grow and improve on yourself professionally and in the real world. I use a lot of skills in my professional life that I carry over to my personal life. Sometimes you come home from work and you're just like, I want to take this professional hat off and I just want to be totally loose, right? There's certain things that you want to ingrain into your
Mhm.
permanent personal self that will make
Mhm.
you a better wife, a better mother, a better friend. Um,
Mhm.
and it is important to me to be all of those things for everyone. And I know we'll never be perfect, right? But as
Mhm.
long as we continue to improve upon ourselves little by little by little, then it's the little things that people notice and appreciate in the long run.
I think that's a really another thing, obviously, because this is the Women in Propane and kind of a leadership development. That role of being a professional and an employee and a leader and a manager and all of those things, and then also a wife and a mom and a whatever else, right? The Girl Scout leader, the field hockey coach, the soccer mom, whatever. How do you balance that?
By
That's a trick
breathing,
question.
it's
That's a
just
trick
breathe.
question.
That's a trick question. Breathing. Yes, Freddie. Breathing is huge. A big fan of meditation, taking quiet time out. You start your day in a good mindset. Positivity. You tell yourself and believe it from your core that everything is always working out for you and everything always will. But keeping center and not allowing the outside world to bog you down with all of its noise. But speaking of noise, I get frustration out at a gun range.
There you go. There you
Sure
go.
if I should share
Yeah,
that, but
You
for
um,
sure.
I am a firearm enthusiast and
Mhm.
an NRA certified pistol instructor. I used to teach a women's class as well. And it's just one of those things where you can just be alone in your lane out in the great wide and just let it all out, and nobody's complaining. You can't hear anything other than just the exhilaration of letting it all loose. And then you pack up and you go home and you're like, man, that was a great day.
I
That was great. That was
I
great.
asked Whitney, I
I
said,
love it.
Tell me some things about you." And the first thing she said was firearm enthusiast. I'm like, wow, that was like the first bullet point. That's amazing.
I
And
love
my boys shoot trap for the local high school team. And it's like all their anxiety, all their life stress, work stress, classroom stress, it's gone on the range. And it's just one of those things where you have one goal, and it's just to hit the trap, and it's a lot of fun. I was really glad you brought that up because I kind of wanted to bring that up as well. I heard you talk about women in propane, Bridget. Let's dodge over there quick. So let's talk about women in propane a little bit, since this is a podcast by the Women Propane Council. I'm going to plug them again. You've had some roles in the council, and currently you are the vice chair, correct?
Yes.
And possibly moving up the ladder.
Yes.
To the chair.
Absolutely. I am excited for that challenge. It's going to be a wonderful ride. It's all about the journey, right? And I've been blessed to be able to participate in Women in Propane for the past 5 years. And I was the treasurer for a few of those years, and the membership co-chair. And now I was honored to be elected as the vice chair. And I am just over the moon to work with these gentlemen and ladies. It's not a guy girl thing. Okay. I'm going to quote Maui here. Maui is hero to all. Women in Propane is a council for all.
Yes.
So yeah, it's been really fun. Amazing leaders in our industry, and I meet more and more every day, and we're getting more and more interest in being an ambassador, a state ambassador, and sharing what Women in Propane provide. And then the leadership for the different committees. And it's just amazing to see these great minds come together and really have a goal of bettering others. And the gift of giving, I think, is the best feeling in the world. There's nothing like it. The high you get from helping somebody else, or helping them achieve a goal, is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's almost as good as the firing range.
Or help sharing these stories like we do on these podcasts.
Yeah,
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Maybe there's somebody else out there that has a similar situation.
Yeah. I mean, I think the opportunity to participate in the Women in Propane or associations for professional development, it is an untapped resource for so many people. I would say you clearly have had a positive experience, but how, for somebody who's listening that's kind of on the fence and maybe nervous about asking their manager for approval, there's certainly companies that are all in and supportive, but there's other companies that are maybe a little more reserved about their employees participating. What advice would you offer somebody to take that first step?
Just do it. Just do it. What's the worst that could happen? They say no. And then you try again later. Never give up. Just do it. I have one of my favorite tattoos, and this is a quote by my favorite doctor. Not sure if you know which one it is. Take every chance, drop every fear. It means something very special to me. Anyone want to guess which doctor?
I know. I think I know. The Seuss.
Yes. Yep.
I love you guys. Yes. But it's so true. And in my younger years, you're bogged down with fear. The fear of rejection, the fear of, somebody telling you no, or you not getting what you wanted, right? And it holds you back in so many ways. And I want to encourage anybody out there that is considering to make that first move, be it to join Women in Propane or Young Professionals or any group, or even try anything new, like asking to go out and get a CDL so you can better understand your team's plights. Just do it. The worst that could happen is they say no. And then you go back, you regroup, you get some better bullet points, and then you go back again and you say, hey, and you never know.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. I think that's a great transition, Freddie.
I do. I think so. Thank you for sharing those stories, Whitney. That's incredible. Yeah. We're going to move the whip round. So we're just going to ask questions. Go ahead and whatever comes to your mind first, go ahead and say it out loud. There's going to be some ones on here that you probably don't know because Bridget and I like to sneak some in from time to time. So with all that being said, I'm going to kick over to Bridget. And Bridget, go ahead and start off the first whip round.
All right. So I'm changing up my normal ones here. So I am going to ask.
Mine.
I know. I'm so curious about this now. What is the last gift that you received?
The last gift, my husband is the best gift giver on the planet. And I'm trying to he doesn't believe in holidays. So he just like randomly gives gifts. That's why I'm
I like that.
So I'm trying to think because it wouldn't be from a normal holiday. You know what it was? Because he paid for this.
Here it comes.
I have an upcoming trip to Turks and Caicos with my ladies.
Wow.
And he paid for it.
It took you that long to figure that one out? Like I was thinking like a ring or necklace. Like, right. Oh, it's a trip. Well, I forgot about that.
My girlfriend. It's the gift that keeps on giving, actually. That's fantastic.
Yes. Memories and experiences, that I think is the best spent money on the planet, When you're old and gray and you can't move or do anything else, you'll have those memories and experiences to look back on.
Well, we're going to go back to Dr. Seuss. What is your favorite Dr. Seuss book?
I have so many. Sam I Am is one of my favorites just because I love Sam. He's so persistent. And Oh, the Places You Will Go is another wonderful book. It's always the first book I start reading my children just because I want them to wonder. I don't want them to be afraid of the future because the future is what you make of it. And to go out and just be brave and put that first foot forward if you have an interest or passion that you want to pursue, just do it. Just go out and do it. I love it.
Fun fact, and I'm glad I'm saying this on here. When my kids were in elementary school, I actually dressed up as Dr. Seuss or the Cat in the Hat, and I read that book to their class.
Oh, I love that.
There's no pictures, sorry.
Oh, we should have had a blip right there to the picture.
I know, that would have been awesome.
Yes, that's fun.
Keep doing that, Freddie. You're my new hero.
Oh, no, my kids are all teens now, so the whole reading and dressing up as the Cat in the Hat, that's all done.
You're not old enough to have teenagers. What's going on here?
I know. That's another podcast.
He's Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
All right, Whitney, what do you keep in the trunk of your car?
12-gauge shotgun.
I know.
I've heard you ask this before. And as I was reviewing, the first thing that pops in my head, I'm a jokester at heart. So I'm like duct tape, rope, a shovel. You never know which friend's going to call.
You never know. I love that. Good.
No, but I have twins, 12-month-old twins. So I have a massive double-decker stroller in the trunk of my car. That's what I've moved over to.
That comes in handy.
It does. My back isn't what it used to be. I can't,
Yeah, but your biceps are in a whole new place.
Just you pulling that out of your trunk.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, it's a swinging effort. It's quite popular.
So Whitney, if you were to write a book about your career, what would the title of the book be called?
Well, it would be my tattoo. That's
Mhm.
exactly what it would be. Take every chance, drop every fear. I could have, I left an industry I had been in for a very
Mhm.
long time. I
Hmm.
had a leadership position. I was moving my way up and I dropped everything and started from the bottom to go into the propane industry.
Mhm.
And that has been the most amazing benefit to my career and my professional and personal development that I
Mhm.
could have ever
Hmm.
imagined. It's been so beneficial. I've met so many wonderful people. Our industry is filled. I scream it from the rooftops with the best people in the world.
Mhm.
And it's once you're in, you're in.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
try as you might to go make a shift somewhere else, you just can't. You always find yourself back in it.
Yeah.
And it's the people, I believe, that
Mhm.
does that. But again, it's especially in leadership, you'll have challenges come up and you'll be presented with
Mhm.
situations that you need to take a risk to be successful at it. And that fear is going to try and hold you back, and it's going to try and say, stay on the safe side, don't do that, don't make any
Mhm.
waves. And that's what's going to hold you back. It's going to hold your team back, and ultimately your
Mhm.
company. And I just say, drop it all. Just drop it all. Just try it.
Oh, I love it. I feel like this might be, I don't know. What do you wish you would have known when you were 16 that you know now? Maybe the same. I mean, all the things.
All the things, all the things.
Mhm.
The not fighting so much, not pushing back so much. The going with the flow is really the uh, if I was to give one of the best pieces of advice that I got from a great manager was dress for the job you want. And that
Hmm.
stays in my head all the time.
Mhm.
So I probably would have been able to progress faster or
Mhm.
attain a position that I wanted sooner if I had kept that in mind, if I'd known about that a lot sooner. Um,
Mhm.
but it's one of those things where it does go a long way.
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I love that saying. I tell my kids that. That's incredible. All right, my last question. If you were not in the propane industry or the food industry, what would be your favorite? What would you be doing right now for a career?
um what would I be doing right now for a career? There's so many things. I would probably be working with animals. If money was no object, my husband and I talk about this all the time. If we were independently wealthy and we didn't have to worry about, earning a living, so to speak, I would probably work for every single foster animal
Good for
rescue
you.
out there. I have worked with Best Friends Pet Adoption in the past.
Mhm.
I've worked with small animal rescues. I have a passion for animals. I love animals. I love helping them and taking care of them. At one point, we had um, 18 critters in our house,
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
from from snakes to rabbits to chinchillas to dogs to
oh my god.
guinea pigs, all sorts of stuff. And it's so much fun. I just love it. I love being surrounded by animals. So it'd probably be that, or I'd own a gun range
Mhm.
so I wouldn't have to travel very far.
Yeah,
Mhm. That's great. Okay,
that's
my
great.
last question is what's your favorite kind of ice cream?
Mint chocolate chip.
That's a favorite. That comes up quite a bit.
Yeah, that's
Mint
Yep.
a
chocolate
solid
chip.
favorite. Good. Well, Whitney, thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Yes,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Whitney.
We had a
I
great
appreciate
time.
everything you two do. Seriously, y'all are some of the greatest people. When I talk about the great people in the propane industry, I'm talking about you two.
Oh, you are very
You
sweet and you have an
humbled. Thank
infectious
you.
positive energy, which is
You
awesome.
do.
It's just
Thank you so
very
much.
enjoyable.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This has been another episode of Through the Leadership Lens, presented by Women in Propane. Be sure to subscribe, download, and share with a friend. To learn more about Women in Propane, visit us on Facebook, Instagram, or online at www.womeninpropane.org. I'm Freddie Riddler.
And I'm Bridget Kidd. Thanks for listening. Until next time.